Hello and welcome to the Modern Homesteading Podcast. Glad you're joining us today. I'm here with Rachel as usual. How you doing, Rachel?
I'm doing pretty good. How about yourself?
Not too bad. What's going on in the old homestead? You always got tons of stuff going on because you got two homesteads. So,
Well, actually, things have slowed down a little bit. I mean, not that we're not busy with homestead stuff, but it's still busy. We still don't have power. I don't know. Feels like that's going to drag on forever and ever. So, anyway, still no power at the homestead. It's coming along. We were thinking that I think we'll be in before Christmas, but I don't know. Maybe not.
if they can get you power.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's that. And then I just pulled my tomatoes and zucchini last night. I can't believe it, but I just got 3 huge zucchinis and I still had tomatoes coming, but we've been getting really cold nights, so I don't think they'll ripen. So I just pulled all the green tomatoes inside and they're lined up in my counter and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, same boat here with the tomatoes. We got, because of that hurricane, we got all that rain that came up here in Indiana. And so the tomatoes, I think I talked on the last episode we did together, how great it's been, the best tomato year ever. And because of the rain, a lot of times when you get a big rain, what happens? They swell up, they get that really nasty skin on them, they crack, they do all kinds of stuff. Well, that's what happened. All my tomatoes just kind of went crazy. I didn't get out there for a few days and they are starting to rot and look nasty. So this weekend, I picked all the good ones. I'm going to get out there this weekend, pick all the green ones and do what I do with them. And I'm just going to get and yank them. It's time. The quality of the tomatoes is not very good at this point. So we had a great year. We had a great run though. It's been a great year for the tomatoes. I've been extremely impressed. Best ever.
Yeah. It's been a great year for them. Mine were kind of late. I still have my peppers that are not happy. They're just not ripening. So I'm going to keep leaving them in, but we're probably going to get a hard freeze this week. We've gotten, I think, probably a light frost, but we're definitely going to get a hard freeze this week.
Yeah, cleanup time is just going to be huge around here. I got so many beds to clean up. I had a crazy thing happen. I think I was talking about with Jordy because I got the Jerusalem artichokes from him last year. Well, those things were like 20 feet tall. Well, we had that big rain and windstorm that came through. And because they were so tall and so top heavy, it uprooted them. It didn't just like lay them down.
Oh my goodness.
It looked like an oak tree. Now an oak tree will lay down and it'll pull out the big old root ball and you'll see that that's what it looked like. And I had all these Jerusalem artichokes just hanging off of this dirt because it just uprooted them and it made this big old mound of dirt. And because, it's so soft. So what I ended up doing was I cut them at about 8 feet tall, tipped them back up because they weren't ready. They're still growing. They were pretty soft and tender. Some of those roots, those artichokes. So I just kind of laid it back together and they kind of look like they're okay. The leaves are still green. They didn't turn brown or anything. So I'm hoping they'll kind of it's hard to kill those. They're pretty prolific.
Yeah, they're pretty hardy.
So I'm hoping it kind of repairs them. I think I'm just not going to pick any this year. I'm just going to kind of let them recover and spread and just kind of reestablish next year.
They will spread.
I'm just going to let them reestablish. So I had that happen. And I'm just cleaning up the garden beds. I'm just taking one bed at a time and just kind of prepping them for next year. And I've got a few done, but I got a few more to go. And I'm going to leave the chard looks better than it's looked all year. It's looking great. The kale looks better than it's looked all year. It's looking great. Some things are just great. I still got
I'm jealous of
walking
your rain.
onions.
We're still in a drought.
We got a lot. Now it hasn't rained for a few days again, but boy, we got a lot. When that hurricane was hitting, we got a lot of rain for like 3 or 4 days. It rained hard.
None of it. I was hoping that we would get just some of the residual, but we got nothing. Nada.
Yeah, we got a little more than what we wanted, honestly, all at once. So, but it did repair the ground because the ground was looking bad. And it soaked it in solid for a couple of days. He was raining really hard for a couple of days, but it soaked it all right up. And then it just kind of started overwhelming it. And then we started seeing puddles and standing and, it actually got a little too much then. So, but I had dug in those swells, which was really good. I dug those around my gills and stuff and it held the water. I seen it slowly seep in. It actually functioned the way it should have functioned. So I was glad to see that happen. I'm glad I put those in when I did because it caught that. So that's what's been going on around here. And so what today we're going to talk about is chickens. Neither one of us have chickens right now. And we're going to talk about chickens.
Amazing though.
Ain't that something though? But if somebody was to ask me, what is the best homestead animal you can have on your property? even though I'm fond of rabbits and I'm fond of my quail, I'm going to say chickens every time because
Yeah.
what I know about chickens, I grew up with chickens, I've raised chickens, is that they are the most useful livestock you can have on your property. And especially from a permaculture perspective, when you talk about function stacking,
Yeah.
no livestock is better than a chicken, in my opinion. And we're going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about what can a chicken do for you? What use does a chicken have on your homestead? So we're going to just go talk about all the things that we can think of that
Yeah, I'm not sure there isn't
chicken
much
does.
chicken can't do for you.
A chicken can do anything.
Yes. They're pretty amazing.
But I think, yeah, it's like the perfect function stacking animal. It really is. And
They are.
if you're going to build a permaculture homestead and you're able, chickens are the thing to have. And I did
They're
an
the gateway
episode.
drug.
They are. I did an episode on function stacking with rabbits. Rabbits can serve a lot of functions too.
Mhm.
And I did one that was a while back. But a rabbit can't serve near as many functions as a chicken or a quail or a duck. You know, ducks, quail, rabbits, all these things are great animals. They all can serve multiple functions for sure, but nothing like a chicken. Nothing can be like a chicken.
They're just the ultimate homestead animal. If that's
Especially,
the only animal you can have, they're just the ultimate homestead animal.
If I can have chickens and if I can have anything, chickens are the thing I would have first. I mean, definitely, because they are just the thing that will serve you best on your homestead. So I think it's time we talk about that after, 9 years of podcasting. Let's talk about function stacking with chickens.
There's so many
and I
different
think
breeds too.
There's some things in here that are just, of course, we got to mention them, but they're the most basic of things that anybody can think of. And we're going to talk about some of those first, right? But if we're going to make the list, we got to include the things that everybody knows about. And the obvious thing is egg production, right? I mean,
right? Yeah. I mean,
chickens give you eggs.
The incredible edible egg.
Yeah. And honestly, when I think about eating right, I eat eggs every day. I mean, if I'm trying to eat good, eggs are something that's on the menu every day.
Yeah.
Every day. It's
They're
just
so good.
One of the healthiest, richest foods you can have. I like my quail eggs. I do quail eggs, but I said chicken eggs. I think quail eggs probably do have a hair bit of advantage over chicken eggs, but chickens do so much other great stuff that I'll take the chicken eggs, right? But quail eggs are really good on stuff, but there's nothing wrong with a chicken egg. And now we have chicken eggs so we don't have chickens right now, but we buy chicken eggs from a homesteader, and sometimes we buy chicken eggs from the store, and sometimes I will drop one in a skillet that's been farm raised or homestead raised, and I'll drop one in the skillet at the same time that's out of the carton from the store. And it's funny how those don't look alike. The yolk is always way darker and way richer and a lot bigger, even a lot of times, than the one from the store. You notice that too?
Oh yeah, there's so much. Well, they go out and they get bugs and worms and grass. I mean, chickens eat grass. They forage when you have them on a homestead and they're not in a cage, and even they have the
in a
cage
barn
free
or
and
whatever.
all that kind of stuff. But just chickens outside, free ranging, you're just getting that multivitamin. I feel like an egg is almost like a multivitamin. There's so much in it.
Yep.
It's just pretty amazing. There's so much nutrition in it and so much protein. And even if you're like us right now and you're buying, it's pretty affordable protein if you compare it to other forms of protein.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, honestly, we get a lot of times we get the eggs for free with the person we're dealing with because they just give them to us sometimes. But sometimes we'll trade something, or we might trade some tomatoes, or we might just buy them. We'll say, no, we want to buy them this time, or whatever. But we take the cartons to them and just get them and trade them some cartons or whatever. And a lot of people just sell enough eggs to pay for the feed. Like you don't supplement them with feed. They don't just purely forage. You have to buy, and you can just so you kind of get your eggs for free that way, So it's, I just think it's a great animal for your egg production. And like you said, eating eggs every day, it's like a vitamin. I eat 2 to 4 a day, every day.
Yeah. I would say I probably eat at least that many. There's times where I eat more, but
yeah, I've ate more. But I would say I eat 2 to 4 at least a day, 2 at least a day on average.
They're so good for you. There's so many benefits to them. And
obviously, especially if you have a dual purpose bird, meat production is another. Now, like I said, some chickens aren't great for meat production. they're just egg layers. They get thin. There's not a lot of meat there, but there's a lot of good dual purpose birds that will put on some meat as well. Now, and usually the ones you raise just for meat, like a Cornish cross, you're not going to get the eggs. So it's like one or the other, but there's a lot of dual purpose birds where you'll get pretty good meat and really good eggs,
Yeah.
So you can definitely raise birds like that. But
that's one of the benefits to ordering chicks
mm-hmm,
as opposed to just relying on what shows up at Tractor Supply. Is you can look through those catalogs. There's so many of them, and you can get dual purpose meat / egg layers. Some of them are even good mamas.
And ideally, if you have the room and the time, maybe putting some meat birds in our tractor and raising those separate and have some layers also, and you get the best of both worlds that way. But if you're limited on space and bandwidth, kind of in your how much you want to do, you can definitely get the dual purpose birds that can do both for you. Now you put some stuff in the show notes that I actually didn't know. You're talking about some different nutritional benefits for different breeds. Tell me about this.
Yeah, so I actually learned about this because my friend Andrew he's like a chicken, I don't know what you would call him, expert, I guess. We were down at his house this weekend, and he has, I don't even know how many different breeds in his flock because he's just establishing his farm and breeding programs, and he's doing heritage breeds. And he started talking about this, and then I looked it up and I was like, gosh, he's right. So there's like the American Bresse can have more omega-3s because they're so good at foraging. They're just really good foragers. And so their meat tends to have more omega-3s in it than other breeds. And then Silkies, because they have that blue-black skin, which looks so weird when you butcher them. It's the weirdest thing. They have this blue-black skin, but it has carnosine, I hope I said that right, which is a naturally occurring peptide that increases muscle mass. So it's kind of like it makes sense when you think about it, because you think, okay, when I eat an orange carrot, it has different benefits as to when I eat a purple carrot. So it makes sense. I just never thought about it until he said that. Wild. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, and there's probably other breeds with other benefits.
Yeah, I'm sure.
That's cool.
Yeah, and I mean, and I know that I know that chicken eggs versus duck eggs, there's some differences, and you said the same with quail. So I don't know if it differs between breeds, but we also know it definitely differs depending on what the chicken is eating.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
So,
and like you said, because of their tendencies, some might eat different than others. So
some of them are just way better at foraging. And so.
Well, beyond meat, we also get some bones out of them chickens when you process them, and bones are really, really good for broth.
I love chicken broth. It's one of my favorites.
Me too. Now a lot of people make it from even their store-bought chickens and stuff, but I actually don't like doing that because I actually figure you get a lot of the bad stuff in the bones and stuff like that from the store-bought chicken. So I generally only make bone broth from something that I buy from a farmer or I raise myself. Like I will make them out of like the rabbits and the quail that I raise, or if I was raising chickens, I would definitely do that. But I tend to not do it from store-bought stuff.
Yeah, I would be a little bit concerned about doing that. I mean, I understand why people do it, but they have found that some of these, oh gosh, I'm making a claim that I can't remember where I found the article. It was an article that was posted in one of my health groups about lead in some of the bone broths because of what the chickens were eating. And I think it was conventional feed and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think that, well, the one thing about it is if you're going to either buy homestead raised chickens, just like, on the grass, they're living out in the open, you usually pay a lot more for them. And if you're going to pay a lot more for them, if you're not raising them, you might as well get every single use you can out of every piece of that. And so you definitely will want to make your broth and your stock and stuff from what your leftovers, because you don't want to waste that. It's too good. It's too valuable. Right. And quite honestly, it was pretty expensive for you because they're not cheap.
No, they're usually about $20.
Yeah.
A bird.
And who knows, that it fluctuates. I'm sure in time that'll go up. But so many benefits. I mean, you put the list here. I mean, of all the things that it can really, having good broths can pay off for you.
Yeah, like well, your amino acids, collagen. I mean, how much money do people pay for collagen supplements?
Hmm.
You know, glucosamine, chondroitin, great for your joints. Their bone broth is and regular broth. Because there's stock and broth. And this is why I've talked about doing a podcast, because there's consomme, there's so many different things with broths, but it's great for your gut health and you get the minerals out of the bones. I mean, especially when you cook them for a long time, you get those minerals leach out into the broth.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I've always been big on it for gut health, as an ex-cancer patient in my gut, it's like I've always been like broth is just something you want to make, weekly. Definitely. I'm eating, definitely getting some broth. It's not daily for me, but it's definitely, a couple times a week. I'm definitely trying to get some broth in me.
Yeah. I just, I love when this weather up here, maybe not further down where you guys are, but up here it's been cold
Oh,
and
it's
we
been
just
getting cold
love
at
it.
night.
We call it soup season.
Yeah,
Soup season now.
it's chili season here. We make the chili.
Yeah. So it's soup season. So we do all kinds of soups. Yesterday it was actually chicken soup with broth.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. So you continue to get things from the chicken. We get eggshells also, and eggshells are rich in calcium, and there's lots of uses for the that calcium. Now it can benefit you as far as like supplements in people or animals, but can also
Right.
be a calcium injection for your garden,
Yeah.
in your soil. So it can actually serve a lot of purposes there. You have a link to an article you wrote on your website at rewilderlife.com talking about you using some eggshells for calcium supplements, right?
Yeah. One of my rare articles that I wrote. But yeah,
Very good article though.
I went really deep into using eggshells for calcium. And of course, there's also that whole acid, like breaking it down, especially after listening to that podcast and talking to Nigel Palmer. That's who it was that interview that I did with him. Your body's not going to break it down unless you have proper acid in your stomach. I talked about that a little bit in the article, but yeah, you can use eggshells. They're a great calcium supplement.
Yeah.
I mean, we're trying to use the whole animal here.
Yeah. Yeah. So folks,
When you spend all that time and effort to have really good, healthy animals, you might as well use it. So many times people talk about, well, chickens, are they really worth keeping? Because you have to buy the feed. But when you look at what we're talking about today, you realize that chickens actually
they pay for themselves
more
1,000 times over.
Yeah. They pay their rent easily.
Yes.
So
yes.
yeah, I mean, you don't have to buy calcium supplements. So, you know.
Yeah. So folks, definitely go to the show notes and click on that link and check that article out, because it's a really good read. A lot of good information there. Rachel doesn't write often, but when she does, it's full of useful information. Another great thing you get out of this. Now, you just talked a little bit about this on your last podcast episode that you did, your solo show on fat, and you talked about schmaltz, which is chicken fat. So tell us a little bit more about it. I mean, just kind of recap what you talked about.
I did not realize that chicken fat was really a thing until a couple of years ago. And then I started eating it, and it is pretty darn good. It's really yummy, but it's a softer fat. But it's got, if these are pastured animals, you end up with some vitamin D in there. Not a ton, but there's some vitamin D in there. They get it from the sun into their fat, and it has some omegas in there. And it's great for your skin, hair, and nails. And they say it may help your bad cholesterol, which is interesting because it's an animal fat.
Fat. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just part of a full circle homestead. Like, you either spend the time to grow your own animals, or you purchase, like I do currently, from someone, these birds. You want to save everything. I mean, we've already said that, but that fat, and it also tastes really good. You can render it down and put it in a jar and keep it in your fridge. Believe it or not, it tastes really good on toast. It sounds crazy because I don't know. I always had this ew factor for some reason with chicken drippings and chicken fat, but I've kind of become a little bit of a fat connoisseur. So
You definitely have. And people can refer back to your last episode on that just to really get the full impact of that. Just what kind of a fat connoisseur you are. That was,
I
I tell you,
love my
excellent
fat.
episode. There's so much. I listened to that episode, Rachel, and I learned so much. There was so much in there that I did not know that you schooled me on. I really appreciated that episode a lot.
Well, I just feel like we're throwing a lot away when we have
Yeah,
these quality animals on our homestead. We need to use it all somehow,
absolutely.
some way. Yep.
Absolutely. Well, that brings us to something that a lot of people won't think about, because a lot of times you're processing your chickens, you're just tossing stuff into a bucket and throwing it all in the compost bin, but there's feathers there, and feathers can absolutely benefit your compost. You can throw them in a compost bin and they will break down. It's a nitrogen injection for compost, which we was going to talk about. I'll talk about later, but you can also use feathers for crafts and household items and things like that. I mean, you can stuff a pillow with them. You can make crafts out of them. You can do
a pillow.
There's people who actually use them to like make coats and things and use them for the insulation in a coat or something. You know, I've seen that kind of stuff. I mean, really interesting stuff you can do with them. Yeah.
I saw some wreaths. Now, if you have some of these chickens that have like just beautiful feathers, I saw a couple of wreaths online when I looked this up. They were absolutely gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen people make just all kinds of little crafts. They'll take like the dream catchers and they always have chicken feathers on those or something crazy like that.
Right.
Or they'll have like, you just do, I see earrings. I've seen people make all
I saw earrings too. Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen the feather earrings. Just all kinds of cool stuff. I mean, there's people who they're just so creative, not like me, not at all like me. They're really creative and they can make things that are really cool, you know?
I can copycat Pinterest. That's my creative genius.
I've even seen people like, take them and put paint on them and then make like paintings with them with the feathers, and then you'll make like a feather design using the actual feather with the paint or whatever, and like make paintings like that, stuff like that. I mean, I've seen people do some really cool stuff. So we're just throwing it out there. It's another use. If you're a an artsy person and you can think of craft things doing, feathers can serve a purpose there for sure. And they just, like I said, they also have a practical purpose. You can use them for insulation and things as well. So and compost. Now the thing that a lot of people in permaculture really focus on with chickens is putting them to work, because a chicken will work for you. They will do labor on your farm or homestead, and they will do really good garden work, garden bed preparation. They can till, not real deep, but they will till. They can, aerate that soil. They'll turn it, aerate it. They can prep it as far as getting rid of weeds in it. They'll eat the weed seeds, eat the weeds themselves. They will fertilize it while they're there. They will drop their fertilizer, but we'll talk about it in a few minutes. They will prepare a garden bed for you. So if you can block them, say a tractor, and you can even target that area by putting them in a tractor or something. Now, I do this with rabbits and quail, which do not do near as good as chickens. They will not turn the soil. They'll aerate it a little bit. They'll eat some of the weed seeds and things like that, but nothing like a chicken. Nothing like chicken. But I'll even set my quail tractor on a bed and just let them work it for a few days, and clean it all up. They'll do that, but a chicken will literally prepare it for next year. If you do that.
Yeah, they will shred it.
Yeah, they will prep it for you to do things with it. You put them on that, let them work it, and then move them to another one, and then cover that for the winter, or even put some, some compost on it or something, and prep it for the next year. You will have a great bed next year for sure. It's a great way to do it. But yeah, they're great little workers when it comes to garden bed prep for sure.
Man, they're just little. We used to love to dump leaves. We would dump huge, because we live kind of in the woods here, even though we're closer to town. We still have a lot of trees, and we get tons of leaves. I mean, tons of leaves. And we would put those leaves in our garden every fall. And literally within a couple of weeks, you couldn't even tell that it was leaves. They just
shred them.
Oh man. And we only had 4 chickens. So they're little workhorses.
They will break down. Yeah, it kind of brings us to the next thing, which is like food waste recycling. So if you're dumping compostable biomass in there with them on those beds and letting them work it in, plus some food scraps or whatever, and let them work that in, and then that breaks down over the winter or something. Oh my goodness, you're basically composting in place, and you sped up the process because now they're injecting their nitrogen in there, plus all this stuff, and it's just going to break down really fast, really do that soil a ton of good. And I mean, you're just going to have the perfect garden bed for the next year. It's going to be perfect. And plus you got rid of your food scraps. You're reducing your actual waste in that way. And it's going to compost faster. If you let chickens work it before you throw it in the compost, it's going to do so much better. It's going to
Oh
break
yeah.
down so much faster. It's going to have more heat to it. It's just going to do everything it needs to do. So it's just really good.
It totally eliminates your need for a leaf shredder.
Yes, they are the leaf shredder.
They literally,
they are the leaf
those
shredder.
little claws, and they love it. And
Oh yeah.
they're fun to watch when they
It's not even, I mean, you can do it with grass clippings. You can do it with,
Yep.
I mean, you can literally prune trees and throw it in there. Now, if you do like the ends that aren't real thick, not branches, but you prune the tips off of a lot of stuff and whatever, you throw that in there and they'll shred that too. They'll work that in.
They
They'll
love
shred
it. They love it.
It just does a lot for the texture of the soil, and everything too. And we kind of, when we're talking about using parts, we kind of skipped over the blood and the bone meals that you can get from chickens as well. You can take that stuff and you take that blood and that bone, and again, blood is like the ultimate nitrogen. A blood meal is a great nitrogen. Just putting the blood in the compost.
Put that in your compost, and it can help fire start that compost. There's people that mix the blood with ashes, I guess, to use it. But yeah, I mean, so if we're talking full circle and you're using it and you're eating part of these chickens too, you might as well catch that blood and use that in your compost.
Yeah, between the feathers and the blood and the bones, you're adding a lot. You're getting a huge nitrogen injection. With the bones, you're going to get a big potassium injection. It's going to do a lot of stuff. Now, you take it a step farther, and you put this in the notes about biochar. You can actually char the bones and even get some other benefits from it. You create like a biochar from the bones, which has a whole bunch of, it's a whole nother level of benefits to a compost pile. I mean, as far as it's absorbing the nutrients and of other things that are breaking down in there and stuff, and holding that to be able to put on your garden. So many benefits there. I mean, you're going to see such a boost in your soil health and plant health by adding these kind of things, this diversity to your compost. And a chicken can just do all that with the different parts of that chicken. So yeah, it's just, again, more benefit.
They're just such a perfect animal for the homestead.
We can't even get past saying that. They're just amazing.
I know.
And then you made that compost. Okay, so you put all that stuff in the compost. Now you could literally put that compost pile in a chicken area, like take you some electric netting, put it up around there, have that chicken. Now they will take that pile and they will turn it and they will continue to add to it with their own manure. Yeah. And they will basically just turn that pile for you and make it the perfect compost. And then you go up in there and pile it up again, let them do it again, pile it up again, let them do it again. They will continue to work it. So having a compost pile, your compost piles in a chicken area is one of the best things you can do for compost. If you want really perfect compost, man, I've used compost like that's been turned by the chickens and stuff. And it just even has such a finished feel to it when it's all done, because it's so airy and it's so it just feels so good. I mean, you put that on your soil and it's just like the perfect. It's like when you buy really good finished compost. I mean, I don't know if you've ever, like, it almost has like a cocoa core fluff to it, but it's not that. You can see it's definitely richer and thicker than that. You see the color, it's a lot darker, but it's so aerated and thick and puffy. And you just get such good root development in that. It's amazing. It's hard to get that just out of turning compost piles yourself. I mean, you can, but you have to really be diligent about it.
If something else would do the work for you, why would you do it? Why wouldn't you let them do it? And they've ate most of the bugs. They've ate most of the bugs, and they've ate most of the seeds out of it. So kind of brings us to the next thing about natural pest control.
They're just having them on your property naturally is going to reduce pests because they're chasing them and eating them and they're doing away with them. But if you have them in a compost pile, they're keeping that pretty cleaned out as well too. They're going to help with the pest control and parasite control. They're going to eat all the small stuff. They can pick out the smallest of things. And they'll root through and eat that stuff. And that's why, like, Joel Salatin is who I know is famous for this, is he'll run his chicken tractors behind his cows. And they will shred that cow manure, take out all the parasites and the insects, spread it around, breaks down quicker, feeds the soil. Now he's growing even better grass, thicker grass, more nutrient dense grass to feed the cattle when he runs them back across that again.
And
It's
then
like
on top of it, the chickens it's like a full
and
circle because
yeah,
then the
it's
chickens
just
are
amazing.
laying these amazing eggs that you then eat. It's,
Exactly.
yeah.
Or growing amazing meat that you're eating by doing that, running through chicken tractors. I mean, it's just again, they're serving such a great purpose, and you're using them, you're feeding them with the parasites and the bugs is providing edible meat for you and eggs for you. It's just it's a great thing. So yeah, having them in any place that draws insects or any place that's going to have parasites and insects naturally, and having them there will take care of a lot of that, and they'll just clean it up for you. And like I said, I've seen a whole. You've been to Joel Salatin's farm, haven't you?
Yeah.
So you probably went out there and witnessed how he's doing that and running it behind the cattle, running the chicken tractors behind the cows, and
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I love
yeah,
to see that process. I mean, it's amazing because it works so well. And it's basically that's how permaculture is designed to mimic nature. And that's what would happen in the wild is an animal would poop and then another animal would come along and it's gross to us,
yeah,
but
it is.
man,
But
the chickens,
it's food to them.
that
Yeah.
is gourmet.
I mean, they love insects, and what's going to draw insects better than manure? I mean, it's going to draw
Right.
them
And
in. They're going to eat that, and
that
yeah,
cycle. And then it's like you just explained so well. It's that cycle that, and it doesn't stop at 100%, but it stops it enough and it slows it down enough. I
well,
mean,
it slows it down and it feeds your chickens. I mean,
yeah. And I
it
mean,
does the dual purpose there. Yeah.
it works well enough for Joel Salatin that I'm pretty sure that he doesn't end up having to he doesn't end up having to worm things and such because once you get the system going, it
Yeah.
works better and better.
Yep, absolutely. And like I said, it just feeds that soil too, which provides better pasture land
Right.
for the cows that are eating off that. So it just continues to just, like I said, make that perfect circle,
And
that
this is
full
how you
loop.
rebuild soil. I mean,
Mhm.
that's why one of the first things we're going to do is get just a ton of chickens. I don't want a ton of chickens in the end, but at first we're going to have just a
Gotta have
ton of
some. Oh
chickens
yeah. They're perfect.
because we need the fertility. We have sand.
Using them in the same process goes, even if you're not running them behind a livestock, running them in orchard integration or silvopasture
Yep.
is really good too, because now anything that's fruit that's dropping, say apples or pears or whatever fruit, even berries or whatever you're growing in your silvopasture area, or your rows or whatever in that area, it's dropping, bugs are
Yep.
getting in it. Chickens are coming through, they're cleaning it up for you. They're taking all that rotten fruit, they're going to clean up that, they're going to eat the bugs, they're going to reduce that, they're going to drop manure, fertilize your trees, your bushes. It's just, again, the perfect circle in a silvopasture setup as well. And again, they're going to keep the parasite control down, they're going to keep the insects down. I know my pear trees, I wasn't as diligent about it this year. They rotted really fast this year because we had such high temperatures. I picked a
Oh,
bunch,
yeah.
but I also had a bunch that were just dropping off the trees. Now, I wasn't running my bird, my chip, my I wasn't running my quail underneath these trees. I could have. I didn't though. But what I did notice was the wild birds. I had so many birds under these trees on the ground eating that fruit and eating the bugs. My wife was like freaking out. She's like, "Why are there so many birds over here?" And I'm like, "Because they're cleaning up. They were taking out all the
Right.
bugs because there was drawing flies. Of course, they're eating it." And I didn't really notice it being any worse because they were taking care of it. And the wild birds were coming in. Of course, they're dropping manure. They're doing their thing. Well, chickens can do that and give you eggs. So I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's even a better setup. So running your chickens through your orchard is just perfect setup. I mean, it does so much for you. They'll manage the weeds. They'll eat the weeds too under there. They'll keep the weeds down around your tree. So I mean, they'll just do so much. I mean, there's just again, I can't hardly imagine having a large homestead with all this stuff functioning and doing and not having chickens to assist me in the process because they do such a
Yeah.
good job of it.
They're an assistant. They really are. They're like a little worker on your farm that also
Yeah.
feeds you.
And if that wasn't enough, we're going to get into the last couple things we're going to mention are the things that are just kind of out there and weird, but they do it. And there's people that do this and they put
There
they put their
is.
chickens in their greenhouse
Uh-huh.
on the ground in the wintertime to assist with the heat of the greenhouse because chickens are putting off body heat. I know people have really large greenhouses. They'll have a cooking compost pile in there and chickens in there working the compost. So the compost pile is producing heat, the chickens are producing heat, and it's helping
Yes.
to heat up the greenhouse.
I know
And if you
people
have a
that
really
do
large
that.
greenhouse, you could take a quarter of your greenhouse and do that with it. Have a few chickens and a compost pile in there, have stuff growing on the other end, put that right in the middle or something and have it heating up the greenhouse. It works. It does produce heat.
It
And
it's a lot cheaper than paying to heat it.
Absolutely. So, I mean, that's a little bit out there, but there's people that are doing that. And I think it's a very cool permaculture concept of function
Yes.
stacking, because it's just something kind of out of the box a little bit, but you're making use of those things. And I think something you can't ignore about chickens is the mental health and enjoyment of them. Because if you've ever had
Right.
chickens, they're pretty dang entertaining,
Yes, they are.
especially when they're chasing things to eat or getting a hold of us. Like I've seen chickens get a hold of a snake before. You ever seen that? It's pretty
Oh, yeah.
entertaining. They'll shred a snake. It's pretty crazy.
We've had them. We've had
Chase a
them fight over
mouse.
mice.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, mice. They'll chase a mouse around, and they'll like
Yep.
run them in circles, and they'll chase them down, and it's entertaining as all get out. Plus, they'll play and chase things, and I don't know. It's really entertaining to have chickens.
Yeah.
So it's just watching them take a dust bath will make you laugh. I mean, it's just funny. They're just entertaining animals to have on your homestead, and I don't know. It just does something for your mental health. I enjoy it. It's just fun to watch your animals
Yeah. I
enjoy
love
their
to
life.
hear them too. Like you can tell when they're
Oh yeah.
happy and the little noises they make when
If
they're
you're able to have roosters too, to hear that in the morning, it just makes you feel good in your soul a little bit to hear your
I
roosters
know.
crowing.
Yeah. We could
I don't
never
know.
have a rooster here, but
I grew up we had a few of them, and they're fun, until you get a
yeah.
mean one that wants to chase you around, then you have to make soup out of him. But
Right,
but
yes.
other than that, they're a lot of fun.
Yeah, our neighbors at our new place have one and I enjoy hearing it when we're out there.
Yeah. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just something. There's something about waking up to that sound or being
There
out.
is. It feels
It,
so, I don't know. It feels
it
so
feels like it's meant to
homesteady.
be. It's what
Yeah.
it does. Yeah, it just feels like it's meant to be. And just watching them protect. It's entertaining too, and it's really cool to see a rooster protecting his flock.
Yeah.
That's really, they see a hawk, man, they're like running them in and covering them up and hiding them, and they'll even they'll take on a hawk or something. I
Yep.
mean, they'll flat out take them on and give up their life for their hens if they have to. And it's just a neat process to watch. So
Very
yeah,
cool.
there's just something about the mental health and enjoyment of having that on your homestead. And I think that's people may not think of that as a function stack, but I think of that as a function stack because that's part of homesteading for me, is enjoying my homestead.
Yeah, my husband and I talked about chickens and we talked about like we love having chickens so much and the amount of work that they do for us that we
Mhm.
would have them even if we didn't get the eggs out of them.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think when you look at all the things, there's people who just raise them as pets,
Yeah.
and just because of these last few things, or may just raise
They're
them.
just yeah.
They raise them to create fertilizer for their gardens and
Mhm.
compost, and they raise them for the eggs. And they'll never do anything else with them, but they'll use them for those two things. They're worth having for that. But then when you
Yeah.
start combining and function stacking, and you start taking advantage of every piece of them, this list we just went down, it's amazing what a chicken can do. And
I feel like a chicken is a force multiplier.
by far, yes, for sure.
Yeah.
And if you're wanting to get the most out of your homestead, having some chickens and save you some work, chickens like no other animal can do that for you.
Yep. You just have
And
to
just make
direct their
everything fun.
attention. If you direct their attention,
Yeah, there's things you have to do. Like you have to maybe run tractors around, or you have to get some electric
fencing.
netting and put that up and move them around, or there's things you will have to do. But I think the little bit of labor you put into that is just a portion of the amount of labor they'll do for you.
for
Um,
sure.
it would take you so much more. Like turning compost piles alone is a lot of work, and they'll do that for you. Cleanup, garden cleanup, tons of work. I'm out here doing it right now. I've been something. I'm telling you, I'm
Yeah,
trying to
I
do
know.
that. And
I'm
it takes
thinking that
I'll spend
too.
whole days out there trying to clean up garden. I could just set a chicken tractor over a bed, and they would take care of that bed for me for the next year. I mean,
Yep.
it's
Exactly.
amazing amount of work. So,
I think of them
I
as a little employee. It's your little worker.
yeah, absolutely. So if you're able to have chickens above any other animal, I choose them. If you can't, rabbits, quail, things like that are great to have. But if I've got to pick an animal and I've got my choice, chickens are it. Chickens
Yep.
are absolutely it. And because they will absolutely do more for you, benefit you more than I think anything else.
And you can get just your standard. You don't have to get some special breed. You can find some on Marketplace or wherever.
You
But
can go down to the
also get
Tractor
really,
Supply.
yeah, go down to Tractor Supply. But you can also get really into it and order your catalogs and pick a specific breed or two.
You
But
can, if
that's
you're going
what
to do
makes
meat
them
birds,
fun.
especially, I mean, you definitely want to
Yeah.
there's a lot cheaper if you buy them to get a cat, get online and order a bunch of
Right.
those.
Yeah.
Do it that. If you're looking to build you up a little egg flock, you can literally go down and they sell a few popular breeds down at the Rural King or Tractor Supply or whatever. You can get them
Right.
there. They can pretty much have them year round at ours. Whether you should be getting them year round or not at that point, it's probably best to start off in the spring, but it's fine if you got a setup and you can do it. You can absolutely get them this time of the year and get them going. But
I've actually read it was not bad to get them this time of year, and the point they made was they don't lay anyways during the winter.
yeah, and they'll be
So
ready.
you get them now, they won't be laying till spring anyways. So
They take a little more care.
matter.
Just be prepared to care for them in the winter because you're going to have water. You're going to have to keep the water, give them fresh water because it's going to freeze. And there's just things you're going to have to do that's, if as long as you're set up for it and you're ready for them and you're ready for that little extra labor, then yeah, it's great. It's absolutely great.
Yeah.
But other than that, they'll do fine. You just got to be prepared to do a little bit more work.
Frozen water is always a big issue here for anything.
It is. And just feeding them and making sure they're dry, making sure they're, I have podcasts on that if you want to go search that on the website, but we talk about caring for chickens in the winter. There's a couple episodes on that. I think in the past I've done, but
and so that is something to consider. That is one reason that you might want to get a different breed. For us, I want to get something with a small comb. Because we do get cold here and the combs tend to freeze if you get something with a bigger comb, and maybe some feathered feet because of the cold. But
silkies.
Yeah, those silkies are goofy looking.
They lay some little eggs though. They lay a lot smaller of an egg, I think, in general.
Their little hair they can't even see.
I know, they're funny looking. Again, entertainment factor, mental health.
Oh man, they are. When I was down at my friend's house, he had so many different breeds. It was hard to get them to slow down and look at them, but the colors they're so beautiful. Chickens are really beautiful.
And this is the reason that chicken math is actually a thing. Like people will start out with a couple and then before you know it, you have 30 or 40. I mean, it just could, because you will get addicted to having chickens.
Oh, he has over 100.
Yeah. It's just like, you don't even know how many you have sometimes. Some people are like, how many chickens you have? I have no idea. I have a lot, and they started out with 2 or 4 or something. And it's like, you just keep getting them. And you don't even realize the next thing you know, you got so many, you don't even know what to do with them.
But chicken math is a very real fun. They're beautiful and useful and fun to watch.
Oh yeah, they are. Yeah. And I think
kids love them.
Yep, absolutely. And you know what? They can be really relatable too. They can be like pets. I mean, if you have some egg layers, you can have them for several years, and they'll come up and jump in your lap and want to be cuddled. I mean, they'll do that with the kids and stuff. I've seen that many times. So they're not like a lot of the animals that, you don't have to worry about, like, there's some roosters that can be pretty damaging. They can tear you up actually. But you just can't allow that. But if you were around them a lot and you hold them a lot and you're caring for them, you're petting them, they won't be like that.
Yeah. We had one called Henrietta, and she was very, very social. She would come chase you down and you'd pet her. And then we had one that we called Houdini. And you can guess what she did. She was the escape artist. Everything. She escaped through everything.
You will develop a relationship with chickens. That's, if you care for them. A lot of times people don't do that with meat chickens because you put them out in a tractor and walk them across the pasture. And
they're easy to not do it with. They get big and gross.
You don't really get attached to those. Yeah, you don't get attached to those. They're growing real fast. There's short-lived life. But your egg layers, a lot of times that you'll have for years, it's real easy to develop a relationship with those and have like a pet. You'll have a pet. And that's fine. It's good to have a few animals like that. I think it's fine. But and in the end, some of those aren't good meat birds anyway. So you're probably going to raise them until they die and then just compost them or whatever. You're not going to do much.
Yeah.
A lot of times you don't try to make anything out of those. You're not going to get any meat out of them. You're going to get the eggs from them, and you're going to just, when they die, you'll take care of that, and you won't eat them or anything. So it's fine. I think it's okay.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Sure. So, I think that's a pretty good list of things that you can do with a chicken. And you know what? There's probably some other things we didn't even think of, but
I'm sure.
If somebody has an idea, drop it in the comments. I'd love to hear some new ideas about chickens that we didn't think of. So these were just kind of a brain dump on what
this
we
makes
know.
Me excited to get my chickens soon.
Yeah. I wish I could have them here. I live within the city limits, and there are some chicken rules, believe it or not, in my town. So
we could have 4 here. We could have 4 here.
Yeah. There's some limitations in a lot of towns. So I miss having chickens. I used to have chickens a long, long time ago. I miss it. So maybe one day I'll be able to have them again. We keep fighting the ordinances and hoping maybe they'll change their minds on some things. So maybe we'll get it done.
That's all you can do.
Maybe we'll get it done. Yeah. Anyway, well, that's what we have for you today, folks. You have anything to add, Rachel?
No, I think that's it.
Well, until next time, happy homesteading. God bless.
And grow where you're planted.